Good Tuesday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. And our top story this morning, Manny Collins, the 16-year-old who vanished from Columbia Heights in May, is dead. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office saying this morning that human remains were found this weekend and have been identified as Collins's. Right now, it's not clear what caused his death, but the Sheriff's Office says they're using every available resource to arrest whoever's responsible. The 16-year-old was last seen with his father in Columbia Heights on May 8th. Investigators believe he was taken against his will. We just heard from the Anoka County Sheriff about the case.
We literally combed through, at this point, almost 180,000 cubic feet of refuse, literally one rake at a time. I assure you it's a sobering experience to work in a landfill like that, only to discover someone else's child.
We will be following this story all day on KARE 11 Plus. Make sure you stay with us for the very latest. You want to keep an eye out on your drive to work this morning. A new law just went into effect a few hours ago for motorcyclists. They're now allowed to weave through lanes of traffic. There's also a brand new law that could affect people getting behind the wheel of a boat. Audrey Russo is here with details.
If you want to take a motorized watercraft out on the lake over the July 4th weekend, we're talking motorboats, jet skis, you are going to need a permit if you were born after June 30th, 2004. So 21-year-olds, this is your warning. You may be wondering what's really changed here. Well, the old law required 12 to 17-year-olds to get one of these permits. So starting today, that pretty much just expands the age window up to 21. And this law is actually going to phase in more age groups over the next 3 years. So by this time, 2028, everyone born after June of 1987 will need that same permit. Fortunately, it's not a huge lift to become compliant. You pay $35 to take a test according to the DNR, and it takes about 3 to 4 hours. And it's a one-time deal. Once you take this test, you don't have to get it renewed. And once you're done and you pass the test, you're able to print out a temporary permit that you'll have to have with you until the DNR can send you your permanent license. And that's a process that takes about 3 weeks. Back to you.
Well, some other new laws here. There are new restrictions on kid influencer social media accounts, mapping out who gets the money and giving young influencers more rights. Also, the cannabis tax rate went up from 10% to 15%. We have more details on all of these laws coming up over at KARE11.com. Well, happening right now, the city of Buffalo issuing a high water emergency, putting a no-wake order in effect on Buffalo Lake and Lake Pulaski. This comes after heavy rain caused flooding this weekend. They say the order will be in effect until water levels go down to avoid shoreline erosion and public trail and private dock damage. They're also asking people in the city to limit laundry, dishwashing, and other heavy water use because the wastewater collection system is working to regulate their levels. Now, similar restrictions are in place in Maple Grove right now, but area residents say they want to remove those restrictions to give people more access to the lake. More than 500 people have signed a change.org petition in hopes of doing just that.
They create a very large wake. That's what they're designed to do, and very enjoyable. It's a fun pastime for kind of people of all ages. For me, it's personally trying to protect the great shorelines you see along here.
Homeowners on the lake say this is some of the highest water levels that they've seen. You can learn more and watch the full story on our website, KARE11.com. A look here from Capitol Hill this morning, where there's a new push against President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Billionaire and former special government employee Elon Musk is now pushing back against his passage as Republican lawmakers try to get it across the finish line by Friday. And Democrats are doing everything they can to stall the final vote and persuade some GOP lawmakers to vote against the bill. NBC's Alice Barr has details from Washington.
Hi there. Senators set a record overnight and into this morning for the longest ever Vote-A-Rama session, with members in both parties lobbing out change after change to the big bill. Most, though not all, shot down as Republicans looked for compromise to get enough of their members on board. On Capitol Hill overnight, the marathon before the sprint as Republicans pushed to pass President Trump's signature spending and tax cuts bill.
Make sure people's taxes don't go up tomorrow, the next day, forever.
Senators locked in a vote-a-rama, introducing unlimited amendments before a final vote.
We have before us a bill that gives tax breaks to the top 1% that will be paid in cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and more.
Proposed changes repeatedly shot down, including one from Republican Susan Collins, to increase taxes on the ultra-wealthy in order to boost funding for rural hospitals.
When these facilities close their doors, the people they serve are often left behind without access to health care.
Democrats say Republicans are creating the danger to rural health care through Medicaid cuts and not going far enough to fix it.
It is a Band-Aid on an amputation. It provides just a tiny fraction of the nearly $1 trillion in cuts.
More than 11 million Americans are expected to lose their health care. Republicans argue the overhaul will help keep Medicaid running long term.
We are fiscally making Medicaid more sound.
Also touting the bill's extended tax cuts and billions for defense, deportations, and the border. Spending, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates, will increase the deficit by more than $3 trillion. President Trump's one-time advisor Elon Musk resuming his online attacks, saying Republicans who campaigned on cutting spending and backed this bill, quote, will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. House Speaker Mike Johnson repeatedly urged Senate Republicans not to make too many adjustments to the bill, knowing the House would need to pass the Senate version without any changes in order to meet President Trump's deadline to get it to his desk by July 4th. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
We've learned tomorrow will be a huge day in court for Bryan Kohberger, the suspect in the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students, and of course for their families. That is when Kohberger is expected to plead guilty in the case, which is a stunning change of events. And with the plea deal, he could avoid the death penalty. In a Facebook post, the family of one of the victims says, quote, "We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us." Now, a judge can still reject that deal. This morning, we know the names of the 2 firefighters who were shot and killed in an apparent ambush in northern Idaho. A large procession on local highways honored Frank Harwood and John Morrison. Harwood was a shift commander and had been a firefighter with the county for 17 years. Morrison, a battalion chief, had been with his fire company for nearly 3 decades. A third firefighter is still recovering this morning. And this morning, officials are also sharing more about the suspected shooter, Wes Rowley, who they say died after shooting himself. The sheriff's office says he posted this picture to social media shortly before the attack. Officials say he had no criminal record. Rowley's family says the 20-year-old had dreams of being a firefighter. Police say they don't know yet if that was a motive behind the shooting.
We have not been able to find any manifesto. We have not been able to inventory the vehicle, although people that have seen the vehicle do believe it appeared as if he was living in the vehicle.
Officials say they believe Rowley started the fire the crew was responding to and shot at first responders when they got there. That fire is still burning this morning. This morning, Minneapolis police say they're still looking for more suspects in the Boom Island Park deadly shooting. So far, just one person is charged in that case. Zaire Porter faces second-degree murder and attempted murder charges. According to the criminal complaint, a total of 130 shots were fired during the shooting last month. 23-year-old Stagina Whiting, a young mother, died. 5 others were hurt, including one person who is now paralyzed. Documents also say Porter is a member of the Low Street Gang and was asked to go to Boom Island Park last month to help attack opposing gang members. We'll start getting used to it now. Come fall, the X will have a new name. The Wild making the announcement yesterday. Their home arena will be called the Grand Casino Arena starting on September 3rd. Crews will replace all the Xcel Energy signs before the start of the team's next season. There are some 3,000 of them throughout the arena. The 14-year deal comes after the Wild CEO say they entertained dozens of other companies across the country, but are excited to be partnering with another Minnesota-based group. They admit it may be tough for diehard fans to get used to the change.
Change is hard for people. We don't expect that on September 4th everybody's going to refer to the arena in its brand new name, but I think over time it will just become the norm.
Now, the first event in the new Grand Casino Arena will be singer Jason Aldean on September 6th. We're just 3 days away from the 4th of July, and there are plenty of fireworks celebrations in Minnesota and western Wisconsin to check out ahead of the big holiday. So tomorrow at Lake Bemidji, it's JC's 81st annual Water Carnival. Thursday in Bloomington, you can catch Summer Fete at the Normandale Lake Bandshell. That's from 5 to 10:30 p.m. And then on Friday the 4th, one of the biggest celebrations is Red, White, and Boom in downtown Minneapolis. Fireworks start popping at 10 p.m. over the west side of the Mississippi. We have a full list of celebrations right now at KARE11.com. Stick with us, more news and weather coming up right after the break.